Okay, so I finished drinking my protein drink and I'm gonna go out here and go for a walk. All right? Hold on. Okay, so I'm out here taking my walk. And I guess the reason why I did that is because there was no cars parked over here. So I was like, yes, the area is mine. There's a few people still passing by, but that's not my problem, right? So yeah, still trying to make sure, I stay mobile every day, get some fresh air. Walking can be a form of meditation, right? And a lot of people are like, well, what is meditation? What is meditation? Meditation is where, you take inventory of what's going on in your mind, and, you either properly file it away, or, you deal with it. And sometimes you even have to just come to the realization that it's something that you can't deal with right now, and you can't just file it away. Therefore, you just put it in a pending file. And sometimes in the pending file, it's just running in the background, looking for solutions. Okay. So yeah, it's a beautiful day at this time. I believe it rained, and it rained through the night. I don't know what time it stopped raining last night or this morning. But yeah. And again, I'm seeing them big white birds. Keep wondering, can we eat them birds? The lowest priced turkey I have seen out online was at Kroger's. And Kroger's is offering turkey at 59 cents a pound. So, for you people who want to have turkey, 59 cents a pound is a very good deal. And you don't have to cook it the traditional way. You can cut it up, because I always do. Ain't no way I'm going to sit up there and bake a turkey for, what is that, 8 hours? No way. Right? Just to have some dried up pieces and stuff, and have it taste bland. If I was to buy a turkey right now, okay, I would cut it up, right? I'd cut off the legs, and I would probably cook the legs, roast the legs, right? Maybe with a piece of bacon on them, maybe, right? And think about how, how much it would cost at the fair to eat this turkey leg. Okay? And then like the other pieces, like the breast, the breast I would probably, use for, hold on. Oh my gosh, it's my Tai Chi walker.
Yeah.
What I would probably do is I would cut the legs and the thighs, and that one I would bake along with the dressing because they're so fatty, and that fat would get absorbed by the dressing, right? I'll probably put the wings in there too. No, I'll probably put the wings and the legs in the dressing mix, and then I guess the thighs I'd probably grind those down to maybe a thigh and a wing drumette. Grind those down to turkey cutlets. Yeah? Right? And so I will have the different meals that I would want, right? But prepared the whole turkey, different. Okay? So yeah. That's how, if I was to buy a turkey, like say from Cora's today at 59 cents a pound, that's the different ways that I would prepare it. Like I said, even when I buy chicken, there's a chance that, rotisserie a chicken, a whole chicken, is a good option, right? Because you'll have like prepared chicken. Like you can go to Sam's and get, rotisserie chicken for like $4.99. And that's like the cheapest chicken that you can get, cooked or uncooked. All right? Now, what I had seen that was kind of unbelievable price gouging is how much it costs to buy cranberries, canned cranberries. Unbelievable. I've seen it as high as like $2.50 a can, 2 for $5, and then as low as 2 for $3. But the individual cans were like $2. It's like, what? Right? So one of the things that I'm going to do is I'm going to look up the difference between price gouging and inflation. Right? So that I can get an understanding of the definition and I'm going to do that when I get back to the car or sit down. Yeah. So I decided to walk up this pathway right here instead of walking along the pathway, mainly because there was this white cyclist that made me feel like they resented the fact that I'm walking down there. And y'all know what that means. And that's where I had to do that 360 twirl around. And like I said, this might be, this might be a Nazi. This might be an Aryan. We know that they fled here to America to avoid, facing military either execution or court martials. Totally, illegal immigrants. And yes, a lot of people, like I said, they have that tunnel vision and they think that, just because they do something a certain way, that this is the same that everybody does. It's not. Like some people, they might even think that the capitalist way of doing business is equally the same as the barter system. It's not. Wow, I'm looking over there and I'm seeing a bright light. Can you pick it up? Yeah, you can pick it up right up there. There's a bright light. I don't know what that bright light is. Why there's even a bright light turned on during the day is weird. Let me go down this way. So at least I can say I went up a hill and down a hill. up a trail, down a trail. Which, stimulates different muscles than if I was just walking flat, right? And I don't know. I mean, they had cheaters back a long time ago, right? But a lot of those cheaters, they kind of restricted themselves, from having like just too many, right? Just too many. And I guess somewhere along the lines, men just decided, just to remove the brakes and, to have as many bodies, as they have arousals. And they don't care, some of those arousals just came as a result of them having to pee. Anyway. Well, hey, that lady over there. That lady over there with the doodle. Can you see her? Anyway. Lady over there with a doodle and a baby. Baby. Oh no, that's not a doodle. That's a real poodle. She got a real poodle. So originally this trail was not a bike trail. It was just a regular trail, but they expanded it, to include bikes, rollerblades, skateboards, right? So there are people who feel like because it looks like a road that it was made for bicycles, but it wasn't. It wasn't made for bicycles. And interesting enough, you wouldn't think that people would have to be told, right? So they're using the same concept that they have with roads. Like if you see a road and the road has a single line like this, that means no passing. And that's because it's going around a curve. And then you have these cut-up lines. That means that you can see ahead, you can pass with no problem on the other side. Right. I'm watching this other lady, you know, record out of Russia, and she was saying that, you know, she bought her apartment, that she didn't choose to rent her apartment, and that over in Russia, she pays $14 a year property tax for her apartment that she owns. You know, and I thought that was interesting. Okay? Because I'm like, ownership and taxes in Russia? Who knew? I didn't know. And I'm not going to assume that Russia is set up the same way that America is set up. Right? Just like I'm not going to assume any country is going to be set up the same way America is set up. Period. And then I was listening to this other guy. Can't remember what his name was. And he had stated that anything that has social on it falls under the socialist philosophy. I was like, I didn't never think about it like that, right? And that was, you know, to help me understand, you know, about Social Security, right? They developed Social Security under the concept and philosophy of socialism. And it made a lot of sense then. Then it clicked. It made sense. It's like, oh, okay, you know, Social Security, you know, part of a socialist concept and philosophy, makes a lot of sense that you pay into it for 35 years and therefore afterwards, you know, it's pooled enough to where, you know, people can get a payout. Anyway, hold on. Oh, wow. Look at this. They're tearing down this whole building. Well, this whole apartment complex. So they could rebuild something else there. I guess after a certain, you know, a certain type of depreciation, You know, it just, I guess somebody has convinced them that it is not viable to try to restore that. It would just be better to demolish and rebuild. Okay, so yeah, that is probably definitely a situation where somebody condemned the building and they forced everybody out that lived there. And I'm not sure how condemnation works. If they condemn it, you know, is there something in place where people can, get like, fair market value, based off of, the property value, and it gets distributed amongst the residents? Because that seems like that would be fair, right? Even if they're saying that the building itself is condemned, right? Because the land has value, right? The land has value. The land has water connections. The land has sewage connections. The land has electrical connections. The land also has location value. Okay? So if they turn around and just tell people that no, you don't get nothing, and that it's condemned and you need to get out by a certain time, to me that's the inequitable, tyrannical thinking of capitalists. Like, oh, they're vulnerable, let me take advantage of them. So yeah. Or, if they were condominiums, that the majority decided, to demolish the building because it would cost too much to try to restore the building. I ride the streets, being very defensive in my driving. Okay, very defensive. I'm on the lookout for everybody all around me, right? And a lot of times, these aggressive drivers don't even know that their aggressive driving can put them in a vulnerable situation where they're going to have to do a payout, because you can't just tailgate somebody and always expect to be able to ride around if I have to slam on my brakes for whatever reason. And I know you're like, but you shouldn't have to slam on your brakes. Why? I'm drinking in my car, maybe I had to slam my brakes on, right? I might have my window down and maybe a bee came into my car. You can't tell people what they can and cannot do. That's why your aggressive driving is going to get you into trouble, right? Because here I am sitting up here trying to figure out why this dude in his brand new looking, kind of Honda. The reason why I say it's kind of brand new, because those flat colored vehicles are more newer than the other colors, because it's a trend that came out. Flat covered was, desirable, so they started, manufacturing flat colored, and this was like a flat blue gray. And I was just sitting up here watching them, tailgate me for a while. Wondering if I should, just move over into the next lane and let them get around me. So almost at the same time, I decided that I was gonna move over into the next lane. They were gonna move into the next lane. I'm using my blinker. He is not. And I was just thinking to myself, my goodness, that clearly almost became an accident, because I could have stepped on my brakes once I seen him, going, changing lanes the same time I was changing lanes. And like I said, that would not be something that I would want to happen. I would not want for somebody to run into the back of my car. But the mere fact that they ran into the back of my car is almost an instant loss against any claim and settlement that I decide to pursue. And a lot of people will sit up here and think, oh, well, you can't claim, loss of income. How do you know? How do you know somebody can't claim loss of income when people are out here doing gig work? And people are very delicate nowadays. They are, because they're not out here moving around that much. So their bodies is more delicate. Can get misaligned like that. Some people at our age, we get misaligned just because we slept wrong. Oh, look at all of those pots. So, don't make assumptions, because then you'll be mad. You'll be mad. You'll be mad that your insurance went up. You'll be mad trying to tell somebody what you think they should do, right? They shouldn't be sitting up here trying to go and get therapy, as if, visiting the chiropractor ain't like going to see a masseuse in the best way. Get that alignment. Get your bones cracked. Get those heating pads and those electrical stimulations on your muscles. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. He got a Maxwell coffee container. Begging at the intersection. Bishop Lynch High School. Believing, belonging. Huh. I went out for a walk. Feel pretty good. It's 77 degrees out. Yeah. Had my protein shake with the fiber, the creatine, and the collagen. probably about 40 grams of protein. Yeah. So I feel pretty good about that. What else? Oh, I got a couple of chicken breasts that I'm thinking I'm going to turn into chicken cutlets. Right? Or I may, grind it up and turn it into a chicken meatloaf. I am thinking about a meatloaf. I don't know what that was. Termite, a fly, I don't know. All I know is I wanted it out of my car. So, one of the things that, I have been thinking about when it comes to me, because I always like talking about me, is the fact that, I don't really show a lot of emotions, right? And it dawned on me, the reason why I don't show a lot of emotions is because my ego is dominated by Saturn. Okay? So, yeah. I'm not going to show a lot of emotions. Capricorns typically don't show a lot of emotions. But I'm telling you, I am on that Saturn Capricorn wavelength. I really am. Even though I'm not a Capricorn. So, you best believe that Saturn be radiating a lot of influence on the world. A lot. But I noticed that most of the people that I watch consistently are Capricorns. And some of them are pretty weird. Yeah, some of them are pretty weird. It really has surprised me to find out, how many Capricorns are involved in the esoteric. It surprised me also to find out how many Capricorns are also a part of the alphabet community. And I know people keep saying that, the alphabet community is a harmless community. I disagree. I disagree. And that's because, I've been a parent twice. Right? And I would be just feel like I was taken advantage of by my child if I had raised my child to be a girl or a boy and they turned around and they decided to be whatever the hell they wanted to be. Look at this dude. Look at this dude. People just don't like people that cut in line or try to go around, the structures and stuff that are already in place. We don't like it in traffic. We don't like it in our society. Oh my God. Just a whole gang of people hanging out on the streets. This is like the third black man that I've seen with his pants way down below his buttocks. And I'm like, what's wrong with these black men? What's wrong with them? And of course, my mind is thinking that, you know, they were probably gay for pay. They were probably gay for pay. And even then, I'm like, okay, so you were gay for pay. You know, you were gay for pay. You know, what made you stick with that, right? Was it that lucrative at some point in time that you thought that being gay for pay was a way of existence? Not even a prostitute has the luxury of thinking that way. Even a prostitute knows that being a prostitute is short-lived. You know, your desirability, you know, is on the decline as you get older. And as you start to lose your innocence. So yeah. Oh, did we walk? It is now 2:40. A lot of people driving around. Wasn't that very many people at the park, but there's a lot of people driving around. And of course, I was watching Dash again, you know, who is now doing Amazon Flex. She's not doing Pick anymore. She's doing Amazon Flex. Okay. And as a seasonal worker, you can move around. Right? So she said that when she was doing Amazon Flex, she's only allowed to do one schedule a day, right? Amazon Flex used to be able to do up to three schedules a day. No, 4. You could do like, I think it was like up to 12 hours. So that would be 3 or 4, depending on how long the shift was. I still haven't decided if I'm going to go buy that turkey at Kroger's. Haven't decided yet. They got a lot of dudes coming out of this house across the street. And I'm already starting to believe that this house also is a lady that does foster care. Right? And you know very good and well that having these young dudes in a house that has foster care that an investigation should be necessary to make sure that these children are being molested. For the children's safety. Because don't we hear so many stories of these foster children, who are thrown into these households of supposedly people that passed the test. And I'm like, what test? The test that, they don't have a pedophilia violation on file, and that the foster care system is not their sole means of income. That's the only two tests they have for foster care. Sometimes they require there to be at least two parents, two adults. And when I went to say parents, foster parent, at least two foster parent. So at no time are the children going to be left without care. Oh yeah, it's not just that they didn't have a pedophilia case against them, but they also couldn't have a felony record. I forgot. They couldn't have a felony record, and they couldn't be a pedophiliac. Right? But I'm telling you, these guys across the street, they look so slick, and they're involved, in whatever they do, that this is why I feel like it's more than just, they have to do not only just regular monthly interviews, because this is a job, and they're trying to take care of other people's children temporarily and get paid for it. I don't see why they're not being supervised. Okay, so this is the second time that, I went out without the pitties. They have full access to going outside. So this is the end result right here. They're now going to become cage dogs. They used to be roam free, right? But they took complete advantage of that, right? By shitting all over the house, pissing all over the house. And it's gotten to the point where I gave them a certain amount of time, months, to get acclimated into going outside. So now, if they don't understand that this is going to be the next option is to be a cage dog. I probably will give more leniency to the little one because, she's young. She doesn't always know. But this one, that's 2 times she also shitted on the living room floor because I left them at home and didn't take them with me on the walk. And furthermore, this little one decided that she was going to start tearing up the shit that I have in boxes, which means now I can't trust you. Not just to shit around and piss around the house, but now you want to tear up everything. I even had to look for my other shoe, right? Because you had taken my shoe out of the shoe box and was chewing on it. So, here we go.